What's like the most meaningful memory that you have of your dad, Jamie?
When he would come to pick my sister and I up for his time with us, he had a Porsche that was still quite old from the 60s and it was very small. So luckily we were small. And I think I sat in the back area that wasn't even a seat. He wouldn't be able to get there till Friday night, kind of late, and it was dark and we'd be in our pajamas and whatever. And so we'd get in the car. And then when he reversed it, that Porsche made this sound. If you've ever reversed an old car, that went, and he'd go, "It's the ghost." And we'd laugh and make the ghost, where's the ghost? He'd put it in reverse as long as he wasn't driving. So I think that's what came to my mind. He and my mom divorced when I was about 4. I only was with him every other weekend through my childhood, and that still is more than a lot of people got. So, it was one of those kind of, me and as a very probably angry man in my early 20s had to start facing some of that stuff, which you never really go, oh, we had this talk and then it was all better. There's a lot of continued healing. And now that we're both quite older, it's unique. But when my father and my mom divorced, I was 4 or 5. And by the time I was 6, I was ring bearer or best man in his very small wedding when he remarried again. He's still married to that lady. So she's my stepmom, Pat, and she's a fantastic human. And she had a daughter who is his daughter's my older sister's age. But he basically, from that point on, also had another family. So, seeing him every other weekend, and that he is now father to his stepchild who is full time in his care as well. There was a lot of interesting dynamics. And so the conversation I had in my 20s was about all the things that I felt I needed to say about how different it felt to watch him be a father in that way too, especially when it came down to, a lot of resentments I had that weren't really anything to do with him, but I had to be able to shoot him somewhere, if that makes sense. And it could have been handled a lot of different ways by him, but it wasn't. It was handled with him saying, I knew this conversation would happen.
So you've gone on to be a very successful musician. Did your dad support your life in career choices? And how do you think his influence on your life impacted your life decisions and career decisions?
As far as where any of that came from, the musical side of my family, whatever I have came from my dad's side, because my dad plays guitar and has a lovely kind of classically trained voice and sings in his church choir. And his brother, my uncle, was my first drum teacher, and he's an incredibly talented musician. So like I was playing my dad's guitar when I was 5, upside down and backwards, because he had a Fender and a nice amp. And geek out, he builds microphones and loves the fact that I have a recording studio. And so that was where that came from. So I know he always encouraged me. And now that I've had the kind of success that I have, I think he even enjoys getting to be a part of it and learn about the business and whatever. And he's also seen me at really dark times through that journey of being a professional musician, which is, and then I come around and I go, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you can have problems in it. But this one just gravitates towards the self-indulgent and that whole lifestyle. And it really took a hard cost on my life. So there's also been conversations where he's shared regret for possibly leading me in a way and, that kind of stuff. Yet he's still really, now that he knows I'm well and sees how well I have been doing post the darker times and that I'm still doing it, he really enjoys, I think he enjoys watching me be successful.
What's the significance of the anniversary of today?
Oh, yeah. The significance is my 6-year sobriety from alcohol. And I'm an alcoholic. I don't lead with that as though if I was in, the groups that you do lead with that out of necessity, but I lead with that just out of that's just the truth. And I don't have to, I don't gain anything by hiding it. And if anything, others might gain from it by my being able to, share it. So yeah, the significance is I remember pretty vividly still 6 years and one day ago where I was at, and to look at my life now and not only look at what things that I still managed to not completely lose and destroy, but they were basically taken from me or there was separation, and look at the beautiful restoration that's happened in my life, particularly through my sobriety and that through my enriching my faith and my original faith in God. And I'm grateful for that. So the significance is the fact I'm even here today, period, still having the ability to play music as a profession, and so many things are happening. Yeah, I'm just so grateful. Like I'm trying not to make sure I melt right now, but yeah, it's that significant. So I have a son who is now 30. And I was separated from his mom when he was about my age when my dad separated. So interestingly enough, we could go a whole nother thing on that. But there have been times, and as my son is now 30, he's had the conversation with me with different chess pieces as I basically did with my dad. And the one thing that I'm grateful that I think my dad has shown me is he, even though I kind of laid into him and I brought out some pretty heavy artillery, he didn't go away. Yeah, man. So I remember thinking when my dad would be like, "Hey, man, why haven't you called me?" Whatever. And I'm like, and this is after the talk, but I'd be like, "Man, my phone ring, blah, blah, blah." And even now he'll be like, "Hey, what do I got to do to get a hold of you? My people got to call your people." And my first instinct is go, "Mother God, quit being a jerk. Like, you have a phone too. You're retired. I'm the one scrambling." And then I stop and I go, he, right. And so, it's also taught me with the consistency and the restoration that has happened with my own son and continues to happen is no matter what, just be there. And my dad's always been a really kind guy, and he's smart, pretty charismatic. Some of those things get exaggerated as you get older. He's a little John Wayne-ish and whatever now, but he could work under his vintage car with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and be able to smoke the cigarette and the ash would not drop as he's talking to me. And I learned how to, what I thought and still think is pretty cool, how to be cool and kind and, and funny. He's very funny. My journey now at this point is I think it was very important that I still had a relationship with him. Even now helps me answer some answerable questions about even genetics or tendencies, and he was still a presence. He didn't pick us up. We back up like in the ghost car and go to Disneyland for 2 days, and then he drops us off Sugarful. And it wasn't nothing we had a relationship. It was just every other weekend, and that's hard to do for 2 days, 4 days a month. And it doesn't feel the same as when you're living with that parent. And I also realized at 55 years old right now, my father is still alive. I can call him right now and we can have a talk. And so that is also, I value that immensely.